300 employees gathered to watch one man lose his job, but an entire CEO's career would collapse.
Attention, Today, they called me the problem. They'll discover who really put this company in danger. A truck doesn't kill people because it breaks, because someone ignored the warning.
So you're delaying every truck until it's safe?
Every single one. I'd rather
The loading docks outside Titan Freight Logistics echoed with the sound of idling diesel engines as more than 300 employees gathered for the company's monthly performance accountability meeting. Forklifts stopped moving. Drivers climbed down from their trucks. Mechanics wiped grease from their hands. Even office managers stepped outside. At the center of the crowd, CEO Nathan Caldwell stood on a temporary stage holding a wireless microphone while a corporate media team live-streamed the event across the company's internal network. He believed public discipline created stronger employees. Standing near the front, Black single dad Malik Brooks quietly removed his work gloves. He had spent 16 years keeping Titan's fleet safe. Never missed a day. Never failed an inspection. Never asked for special treatment. His 10-year-old daughter Zoe was waiting at school, expecting him to pick her up in less than an hour. Nathan looked directly at Malik and smiled. Everyone, today you're going to learn what happens when one employee believes he's more important than this company. The crowd became silent. Nathan held up a termination envelope. You've spent 16 years here, but starting today, you're unemployed. The media cameras zoomed in as Nathan tossed the envelope onto the concrete in front of Malik. Some employees lowered their heads. Others secretly started recording. Malik didn't argue. He simply pulled out his phone, dialed one number, and quietly said, "This is Compliance Officer Brooks. Effective immediately. Suspend Titan Freight's federal certification." Exactly 12 seconds later, the CEO's phone began ringing. It was the call that ended his career. The concrete loading docks of Titan Freight Logistics stretched across nearly 40 acres outside Dallas, Texas. Hundreds of semi-trucks lined the bays. Forklifts moved containers the size of small houses. Engines roared. Hydraulic lifts hissed. It was one of the busiest freight operations in America. Every hour, nearly 12,000 tons of cargo left this facility. Medical equipment, emergency supplies, military transport systems, industrial machinery. A single mistake could cost lives. That responsibility had belonged to one man for the last 16 years. Malik Brooks. At exactly 5:15 every morning, before most executives arrived, Malik was already walking the maintenance yard carrying a worn leather clipboard. He greeted every mechanic by name, asked about their families, inspected brake systems himself. He never believed leadership came from an office, came from showing up first and leaving last. "Morning, Mr. Brooks." A young mechanic named Ethan waved while tightening the wheel assembly of a freight truck. Malik smiled. "Morning. Did you replace both air valves?" Ethan nodded. "Just finished." Malik crouched beside the truck anyway. He checked the installation himself, then smiled. "Perfect." Ethan laughed. "You always double-check." Malik closed the inspection panel. "People trust these trucks with their lives. I'll never apologize for being careful." Several mechanics nearby nodded. That was why they respected him. Not because he was their supervisor, because he worked harder than everyone else. Across the facility, inside a glass executive office overlooking the shipping yard, CEO Nathan Caldwell frowned while watching Malik through the window. Vice President Olivia Grant stood beside him holding a quarterly performance report. Maintenance costs increased another 4%. Nathan didn't look away. "I know why." Olivia looked surprised. "Why?" Nathan pointed toward Malik. "Him. He refuses to cut inspection procedures. He delays deliveries. He spends money replacing parts that still work." Olivia quietly replied, "The reports show those replacements prevented 7 major equipment failures this quarter." Nathan dismissed the comment with a wave. "I don't reward caution. I reward speed." He picked up another report. "Our investors don't care how perfect the trucks are. They care how fast they move. Olivia hesitated. Federal compliance requires. Nathan interrupted. I'm tired of hearing about regulations. We're running a business, not a government agency. At exactly noon, employees gathered outside the main loading dock. Monthly performance accountability meetings had become Nathan Caldwell's favorite tradition. Not because they improved the company, because they entertained him. Whenever someone missed a target, he criticized them publicly. Whenever a department fell behind, he announced it in front of everyone. He believed embarrassment motivated people. Most employees simply called it humiliation. A professional camera crew adjusted their equipment. 2 drones hovered above the loading yard. The event was being live-streamed to every Titan Freight location in America. More than 6,000 employees were watching. Nathan loved that number. The larger the audience, the more powerful he felt. Meanwhile, Malik sat alone inside the maintenance office finishing one final inspection report. His phone buzzed. A video call. His daughter, 10-year-old Zoe, appeared on the screen wearing her school robotics club hoodie. Dad. He smiled instantly. Hey, engineer. She laughed. You remembered. I always remember. She held up a small silver trophy. We won 2nd place. Malik's face lit up. I knew you would. You coming to pick me up? I wouldn't miss it. She smiled. Promise. He looked directly into the camera. I've never broken one. The school bell rang. I love you, Dad. I love you more. The call ended. Malik quietly placed the phone back into his pocket. That promise meant everything. Ever since his wife had died from an unexpected illness 5 years earlier, every afternoon belonged to Zoe. No meetings, no overtime, no excuses, just father and daughter. A loud announcement echoed across the yard. All department heads report to the accountability meeting immediately. Mechanics sighed. Drivers exchanged nervous looks. Everyone knew what was coming. Another public performance. Malik walked toward the gathering crowd. More than 300 employees stood facing a temporary stage built beside the loading docks. Nathan Caldwell stepped onto the platform wearing an expensive tailored suit and polished shoes that had never touched the warehouse floor. The applause sounded forced. Nathan smiled into the microphone. Good afternoon, Titan family. Large LED screens displayed live footage from multiple camera angles. Nathan loved seeing himself on the screens. He adjusted his tie. Today, we celebrate excellence. The crowd clapped politely. But first, we deal with mediocrity. The applause disappeared. Nathan slowly looked across the crowd until his eyes stopped on Malik Brooks. A slow smile spread across his face. Mr. Brooks, would you join me on stage? 300 employees suddenly became completely silent. Malik calmly removed his work gloves, looked once at the school pickup reminder on his phone, then slowly walked toward the stage. He had no idea that the next 5 minutes would change the future of Titan Freight forever. Nathan Caldwell watched Malik climb the temporary stage without the slightest sign of fear. That irritated him. He had expected anger, excuses, maybe even begging. Instead, Malik stood quietly with his grease-stained work boots planted firmly on the polished platform. The contrast couldn't have been greater. Nathan wore a custom Italian suit worth nearly $8,000. Malik wore a faded Navy maintenance uniform with 16 years of oil stains that no detergent could completely remove. Nathan smiled into the microphone. Everyone, let's give Mr. Brooks a round of applause. A few confused employees clapped politely. Nathan chuckled. You should applaud. After today, this will be the last time you ever see him wearing that uniform. The crowd fell silent again. Large LED screens displayed Malik's face from every angle. Thousands of employees across Titan Freight watched the live stream. Nathan slowly circled him like a television host. Tell everyone, how many years have you worked here? Malik answered calmly. 16. Nathan nodded dramatically. 16 years. And yet, you still refuse to adapt. He held up a thick maintenance report. This morning, You delayed the departure of 27 freight trucks. He shook the papers. 27. Do you know what that costs this company? Malik remained calm. I do. Nathan smirked. Apparently not. Malik looked directly at him. I delayed them because 12 failed their brake inspections. A quiet murmur spread through the employees. Nathan rolled his eyes. There he goes again. Always another excuse. Malik continued. 3 steering assemblies had metal fatigue. 5 trailers had damaged air lines. 7 trucks exceeded federal wear limits. Nathan laughed loudly. You hear that? He talks like he's working for Washington. The executives standing behind Nathan laughed politely. But the mechanics didn't, because they knew Malik was telling the truth. Nathan walked toward the edge of the stage. Our business survives by delivering on time, not by inventing problems. Malik replied quietly. I didn't invent them. I documented them. Nathan lifted the inspection folder high into the air. These reports, he tossed them onto the concrete, are exactly why this company is losing money. The papers scattered across the loading dock. Several mechanics instinctively stepped forward to collect them. Malik gently raised his hand. No, leave them. Nathan smiled proudly. There. Even he knows they're worthless. Malik looked down at the inspection reports blowing across the pavement, then calmly said, every signature on those reports protects someone. A driver, a family, or the people sharing the road. The entire yard became silent. Even the live stream comments slowed. Nathan glanced toward the media cameras. Perfect. This was exactly the dramatic moment he wanted. He reached into a leather folder, pulled out a white envelope, held it high. Malik Brooks. Effective immediately. You are terminated. Gasps spread through the crowd. Nathan tossed the envelope onto the concrete at Malik's feet. The cameras zoomed closer. Nathan smiled. Security will escort you off company property. No one moved. Not even security. The warehouse supervisors looked at one another. Several mechanics lowered their heads. One older driver quietly whispered, "This is wrong." Nathan ignored him. Anyone else who believes they're bigger than Titan Freight, he pointed toward Malik, can leave with him. Complete silence. Then something unexpected happened. Instead of arguing, instead of defending himself, Malik slowly bent down, picked up the termination envelope, folded it neatly, placed it inside his pocket, then removed his employee ID badge. He placed it carefully on the podium. Not thrown, not slammed, simply placed. Nathan smiled. Finally, some cooperation. Malik looked at him with complete calm. I've always cooperated. I just never compromised safety. Nathan laughed. It doesn't matter anymore. It isn't your company. Malik nodded once. No, it never was. He reached into his pocket, pulled out his phone. The employees watched quietly. Nathan folded his arms. What? Calling your lawyer? Malik shook his head. No, I'm calling someone whose job begins when mine ends. He selected a number from his contacts. The call connected almost instantly. A calm female voice answered. Federal Transportation Compliance Office. This is Director Elena Morris. Malik spoke clearly. This is Compliance Officer Malik Brooks. Federal Certification IDTX 4817. I've been officially removed from Titan Freight Logistics. A pause. Then the voice became serious. Was the separation voluntary? No. I was terminated approximately 40 seconds ago. Another pause. We'll begin mandatory protocol. Nathan frowned. What protocol? Malik ignored him. Director Morris continued. Can you confirm no certified compliance officer remains on site? I can confirm. Under federal contract regulation, Titan Freight's defense logistics certification is now automatically suspended pending emergency review. Malik quietly answered, Understood. I'll submit my report within the hour. The call ended. Nathan laughed. That's your big move? A phone call? Malik slipped the phone back into his pocket. It wasn't for you. It was for the government. Nathan's smile began to fade. Before he could respond, his personal cell phone started vibrating, then vibrating again, and again. 3 calls, back to back, all from the chairman of Titan Freight's board of directors. Nathan suddenly realized something had gone terribly wrong. Nathan Caldwell stared at his vibrating phone. 1 call, then another, then a third. Every call came from the same person, Chairman Richard Ellison, the man who never called during public events. Nathan forced a smile toward the cameras. "Excuse me for 1 moment," he answered. "Mr. Chairman." A furious voice exploded through the speaker. "What have you done?" Nathan frowned. "Sir, I asked you 1 question. What did you do?" Nathan looked around, suddenly uneasy. "I terminated an employee." There was complete silence. Then the chairman spoke again. "You didn't terminate an employee. You terminated the only federally certified compliance officer authorized to validate our defense logistics contract." Nathan's face turned white. "What? You heard me. Our federal certification has just been suspended. The Department of Transportation has already notified the Pentagon." Nathan felt his heartbeat racing. "That can't happen this fast." "It already has. Our emergency transport contract has been frozen. Every military shipment scheduled for tonight has been placed on hold." Nathan slowly looked toward Malik. For the first time, he realized Malik had never tried to threaten him. He had simply followed the law. Inside the loading yard, employees noticed Nathan's confidence disappearing. His hands began shaking. The smile was gone. Vice President Olivia Grant hurried onto the stage carrying a tablet. "Nathan." He covered the phone. "Not now." She ignored him. "Our stock." He looked at the screen. Titan Freight Logistics, 18.7%. Still falling. His eyes widened. "How?" "The market was notified that our federal contract is under review." Journalists immediately began checking their own phones. Within seconds, breaking news alerts appeared everywhere. Federal Compliance Review suspends Titan Freight defense operations. Camera crews stopped filming Malik. Now, every lens pointed toward Nathan. The chairman's voice returned. "The board is assembling an emergency meeting." Nathan swallowed hard. "I can fix this." "No. You had that opportunity before you humiliated the 1 person who kept this company compliant." Nathan whispered, "I didn't know." The chairman answered coldly. "Exactly." The call ended. Nathan slowly lowered his phone. The loading yard had become completely silent. No applause, no laughter, no cameras celebrating him. Only hundreds of employees watching their CEO realize his biggest mistake wasn't firing Malik. It was believing the people doing the hardest jobs were the least important. Nathan looked toward Malik. "You knew this would happen." Malik calmly shook his head. "I hoped it wouldn't. You could have warned me." "I tried." Nathan frowned. "When?" "Every inspection report you ignored." Every mechanic standing nearby lowered their heads, because they remembered. Every report, every recommendation, every safety warning. Nathan had signed them away without reading. Olivia stepped beside Malik. "For 16 years. You never missed a compliance audit." Malik nodded. "It wasn't my record that mattered. It was everyone's safety." He looked across the loading yard. "Drivers trusted us. Families trusted us. The government trusted us. And trust disappears faster than it's built." No one argued, because everyone knew he was right. One of the veteran truck drivers slowly stepped forward. Then another. Soon, nearly every mechanic and driver stood behind Malik. No speeches, no chants, just quiet respect. Nathan watched it happen. 16 years of leadership could never earn what Malik had earned without asking for it. Respect. Suddenly, a convoy of black government SUVs rolled through the front gate. Their flashing amber lights reflected across the rows of freight trucks. 3 federal transportation investigators stepped out wearing Navy jackets marked U.S. Department of Transportation. The lead investigator approached Malik first. "Mr. Brooks." "Yes." He extended his hand. "Thank you for reporting the certification change immediately." Malik shook it. "I was only doing my job." The investigator nodded. "And that's exactly why we're here." He turned toward Nathan. "Mr. Caldwell. Effective immediately. No Titan freight vehicle operating under the federal contract is authorized to leave this facility until our inspection is complete." Nathan looked around helplessly. Hundreds of trucks, worth millions of dollars, sat completely still. Not because of a strike, not because of bad weather, but because one honest employee had refused to compromise his integrity. And for the first time in his career, Nathan Caldwell understood. A company could survive losing money, but it could never survive losing trust. The loading yard remained completely still. Hundreds of freight trucks waited in silence. Drivers stood beside their vehicles. Mechanics leaned against tool carts. No one spoke. The only sound came from helicopters flying overhead and television news vans pulling through the front gate. Within 20 minutes, every major business network in America had arrived. Federal contract suspended after CEO fires certified compliance officer. The headline spread faster than any shipment Titan Freight had ever delivered. Nathan Caldwell stood frozen beneath the temporary stage. His expensive suit suddenly meant nothing. The cameras that once celebrated him now documented his downfall. Half an hour later, a black sedan stopped beside the loading dock. Chairman Richard Ellison stepped out. His expression was colder than anyone had ever seen. Without shaking Nathan's hand, he walked directly toward Malik. "Mr. Brooks." Malik nodded respectfully. "Mr. Chairman." Richard extended his hand. Richard extended his hand. "I owe you an apology." Malik shook it. "You don't owe me anything." Richard sighed. "I do. 4 years. The board trusted reports. We should have trusted the people doing the work." Several employees quietly applauded. Richard then turned toward Nathan. "You embarrassed one of the finest employees this company has ever had." Nathan lowered his head. "I made a mistake." Richard looked him directly in the eyes. "No, you made hundreds. Today's firing only exposed them." The board members standing behind Richard silently nodded. Richard removed a folded document from his briefcase. "Nathan Caldwell, effective immediately. You are relieved of all executive responsibilities." The loading yard fell silent once again. Nathan didn't argue. He couldn't. Security quietly approached him. This time, not to escort Malik, but to escort the CEO. As Nathan walked toward the parking lot, not a single employee celebrated. Because Malik had taught them something important. Humiliation never creates respect. Richard turned back toward the crowd. "Before anyone asks." "No, Mr. Brooks isn't becoming CEO." Employees looked surprised. Richard smiled. "Because leadership isn't a reward. It's a responsibility." He looked toward Malik. "What would you do if you were sitting in my chair?" Malik thought for a moment, then answered quietly, "I'd start listening before making decisions." Richard smiled. "I hoped you'd say that." 3 months later, Titan Freight looked different. Inspection shortcuts disappeared. Mechanics were finally given the parts they requested. Drivers no longer feared reporting problems. Safety meetings became conversations, not lectures. Inside the maintenance building, a new sign hung above the entrance. Fleet Safety and Operational Excellence Division. Its director, Malik Brooks, not because he wanted power, because everyone trusted him. One afternoon, young apprentice Ethan walked into Malik's office. "You know, I used to think leaders were the people with the biggest offices." Malik smiled. "And now?" Ethan looked through the window at mechanics working together. "I think they're the people everyone follows, even after they leave the room." Malik quietly nodded. "Then you've already learned more than some CEOs." That afternoon, Malik picked up Zoe from school. She climbed into the truck holding another robotics trophy. "Did you win?" She grinned. "First place." Malik laughed proudly. "I knew you would." She looked at him. "Did you have a good day?" He smiled toward the setting Texas sun. "The best one in a long time." As they drove home, Titan Freight continued moving again. Not because one CEO controlled it, but because an entire company had remembered something far more valuable than profit. The strongest businesses are never built by the loudest leaders. They're built by honest people who refuse to compromise what is right, even when it costs them everything. And sometimes, one quiet phone call doesn't destroy a company, it saves it.